of this idea of chunking that I call is just breaking the game up into these different segments so we can figure out ways to make White-rA's style into my style, because you should play the game the way that you think is most fun and that makes you feel the happiest, because again, we're playing a game for fun. And also, you'll always be better doing a strategy you like doing because your brain will have a motivation to focus more on it. So what do we see White-rA doing? Oh, he detects an early expand. He expands himself. But in general, it looks like he's going 2 bases, 2 or 3 warp gates or so, and fast blink with stalkers. Done. That's all I'm going to say. Nothing huge. Not going to write down where he placed his pylons, when he got his warp gates. I'm just going to kind of say that this is exactly, or say that this is generally what he's doing. Because if we get too exact, we kind of lose the forest for the trees. Whatever that metaphor means. So, and meanwhile, Little One also sees that there's not a 4 warp gate coming. Notice what I said. I said he saw, I didn't say he saw a fast expand. I tried to go a little bit farther than that. He saw not a huge rush coming. Not a huge rush. Has plenty of time to get the ghosts and the reactors and the tech labs all up. Pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward. And what excites me about this game in particular, and excites me about watching these 2 players play, is their ability to just play the races in increasingly innovative ways. And I'm really starting to like the way that this matchup's fleshing out. Oh yeah, it looks like maybe 4 warp gates. Taking the Stalkers to go kill off the Destructible Rock. Remember how I said Stalkers were a very nimble and speedy unit? Yes, the Stalker will be the spotter that hangs out at the Xel'Naga Watchtower. And of course, if anything tries to go for the Xel'Naga Watchtower, Stalkers are so fast that they'll be able to pick this guy off. Meanwhile, we have Concussive Shell, we have we have Combat Shield, and we have the Stim Pack going down. Big emphasis on Marines. Why not that many Marauders, even though we have 2 Tech Labs? Well, that's for the Ghost. We wanted to get a very early Ghost out. Here comes yet another Barracks out. Don't have a problem with that either. No Mobius Reactor, no extra energy. And it looks like anytime I see a whole new set of buildings appear, and it's kind of nice because White-rA like visually separated them, as if he was helping me here, do a little bit of tutelage. Every time I see some new set of buildings, I kind of think to myself, now why was that? Is he just doing this in general? Or is he just, is it a response to something? Well, it looks like this is when he hasn't really built anything. No, I guess this is just his straight up normal move. He wants to be getting this stuff up a little earlier. I kind of feel like this blink is not going to be as useful without the observers, just because the high ground's still vulnerable. You can't really harass without the observers. I am leaning towards, after these 3 warp gates, getting a robotics facility for the observer. So cool, I took White-rA's chunk, his early game opening of getting these warp gates, getting this expansion, getting this Twilight Council with Blink, and then I made it my own by saying, hey, you know what, I want to get a faster robo facility. And of course, in the meantime, we're also noting that White-rA is throwing down a Templar Archives in the back corner. Cool stuff. And meanwhile, Little One looks like he is just massing up hard on the barracks, and this one is also a tech lab. Wouldn't mind if that were a reactor, if Little One's plan was to go a little bit more reactor heavy, because now Little One does have time to do that sort of thing. Here's a poor Stalker. Blinked up onto the high ground, and of course had to run away because one Stalker can't actually take that. Now, one thing that I do want to say before this battle engages, you heard me talk about the good old Stalker with Blink, how it's more useful if we do have the observers along with it. However, never forget the fact that Stalkers can chase down retreating units so easily, and also retreat away from advancing units very, very easily. And look at how nice this leads to positioning. Army positioning is so important in this game. There's the big scan. Oh, pulling some of the stuff back. There's the really nice EMP going down. There's the Ghost in the back. Oh, a little unfortunate that it gets picked off. But look at the patience that White-rA took with this army, waiting for Little One to get as close in as possible before he killed everything off. Awesome, 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 awesome stuff. And, oh, look, a blink, just to rearrange a little bit. Nothing huge. Look at how subtle that this blink move was. This is just great. Yeah, look at some of the guys getting stuck in the back. I want you to focus on these Stalkers that are kind of doing a little, look at these guys struggling. Oh, no. Yeah, hey, look, scooting some of them over. And now all those Stalkers are filing. This is the only Stalker that is not participating in this battle at this point. So still pretty even, but I would say that White-rA got a pretty good deal being able to kill off an early push. And of course Little One making it a little bit better of a deal, because it's his birthday. He's feeling generous. So I've been talking a lot about White-rA this game. Little One doing pretty typical opening with these 3 barracks, these initial 3. I think that's pretty normal, nothing out of the blue there. But now let's spend a lot of time talking about Little One's follow-up. In the midst of that whole attack, we mysteriously have 2 factories coming down. And anytime you have some sort of hugely failed, well, let me actually rephrase that. A lot of times you will think of clever little pushes, such as the Little One. I'm going to early expand, but I'm not going to play too defensively. I'm going to get Ghost, Stim, and Combat Shield pretty fast. And I'm going to do a little push out with it in the mid-game. And that's the push we just saw White-rA defend. Anytime you have one of those, a lot of people will have success because there's just a lot of timing pushes in this game in general. But with that success, they kind of have tunnel vision on it, you know, like, let's say I'm Little One, and I'm one of these tunnel vision players. I'll do this push and it'll work, and I'll go, oh, alright, awesome, I'll do the push again, and it'll work a lot, and then I'll lose with it, and I'll be like, this game sucks, but then I'll sit down and keep playing with it. And especially considering that it's going to take a while for you to get, you know, the top of the diamond levels, you have a lot of success with it. And it's so important that even though you're having success with one of these pushes, which is reasonable, that you have a follow-up plan. You really, excuse me, computer, you really need to make absolutely certain that what you have up next is good. Because without that, you're doing this straight up normal push, and that can screw up your thought process. A lot of times players, their first push won't work, so what do? They only make barracks because they basically try to do a bigger version of their initial push. Look at this huge Marauder emphasis by Little One, don't mind that. Seems reasonable. See so many Stalkers, want to replenish Marauders first and then go back and get some of that other stuff. Now, White-rA is starting to do a mid-game that I am a big fan of. He's getting Storm, no Zealot legs yet, but has a decent gateway count and is getting many the next eye. Doing a lot of expandering action. And this is a cool little switch by Little One to be getting these tanks out so early. So we need to make certain that we think about what these tanks imply. Well, it means that we're going to have a very solid push coming up in a little bit. It doesn't look like we'll have enough time to, tech up to a starport and get Ravens or something. But it does look like around 2, 3, 4 tanks will be able to push out with a nice little army. It's not going to be very mobile, though. It really is not going to be extraordinarily mobile. Tanks are great sieged, obviously. So anytime I'm thinking about this immobile army, why not advance my army here, siege, and start to expand? So that way when my push begins, I can easily take that expansion. Always good to have a nice setup with an immobile army, to be gearing up for a big expand. Very easy for Terran. Oh, and this is so good, and this is such a huge threat. Moving up and taking out the tech labs seems like a little bit silly just to go for one measly old tech lab. But tech labs are one of the weakest things there. Look at that, 400 hit points on a reactor. It's going to eat into the ability for Marauders to get produced, or really anything that threatening. You can pick off siege tanks that are en route from the factories. But already these Stalkers with Blink are really helping White-rA not just stay alive with his expansion, but bounce back and do some other magical stuff. Go in here, kill off some tech labs. Great activity with that Observer, trying to check everything out. You can be more bold with Stalkers with Blink. Look, taking this out, yeah, who cares if you have Concussive Shell? You can do that. And regardless, the Little One is having excellent macro. Look at his money. Just absolute zero. Look at the food. He's up by 20 despite having lost that big push. Now, this is a little bit of an issue I have. These tanks are going to bolster this a lot, but I'm very concerned about this Destructible Rock expansion. The fact that it hasn't even been started yet. Meanwhile, I'm digging White-rA's good old Zealot Templar play. Oh, yeah, he's getting charged. He's getting all sorts of extra gateways. A Forge here. Nice. Setting up for some good old +1. What do I see missing here? Oh, my God. Little One doesn't have any upgrades yet. Oh, man. Yeah, it doesn't. I don't even see an engineering bay. And notice how big that is, right? Notice how naked the base feels without this crucial building. Not just upgrades, but also the turrets. And upgrades are the classic example of thinking ahead in the game. I'm going to press this button, and in a few minutes, I'll have better units. I think that is an integral part to most timing pushes. Like, for instance, I really think that the Little One could have had a much stronger push if, when he moved out with that set of 3 barracks, like the 3 barracks of units, that big first push he did, should have been making an engineering bay while this was happening. Then could have gotten the +1, and immediately during the attack, even if it didn't work, he would have finished the attack with the potential for a scarier one coming up. Would have had that +1 upgrade. So, and you know, like, White-rA, at the same time, someone could say, well, why didn't White-rA get his upgrades earlier? I'm seeing a little bit more of an evolution here with White-rA. He's getting Stalkers with Blink. That's step 1. He's expanding. That's step 2. And then getting a whole bunch of gateways with Zealot Templar. That's step 3. And then he's coming back and getting a huge boost. So here's more Stalkers with Blink. Zealot's kind of running a little bit behind, but of course, Storm, one of the